Hello, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? Yes. Excellent. Oh, I think there's a bit of a feedback. Okay. Okay. I have some feedback on my mic. Give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. I'm going to try to log back in just because there's a bit of a lag on my, I can hear on my headphones when I speak.
Just bear with us. Maurizio is just logging back in. He'll be with us in a second and we can get kicked off.
Hello? Okay. Okay. So, hi, everybody. Apologies. I seem to be having some feedback or some echo on this, so I'm just gonna make an intro and try to reset and come back in. So my apologies. But thank you for coming to our spaces, and very excited to report that everything continues to progress in the right direction, and we are getting closer and closer to your refinancing date. We have been getting a lot more submissions and a lot of questions since the ballot went out last week, which was the next step in the process. So we wanted to host this session to help everybody with guidance on next steps and making sure that you are all set. So I'm going to be going over the agenda quickly. I'm just going to take 1 minute here to reset and come right back.
And maybe while you reset, John and I can introduce ourselves. So hi everyone, nice to meet you all. My name is Alex. I work on our product team here at Ledn. And so really think and work on the loans products, our savings and our yields products, and overall how we kind of build and grow our platform. And so I spend a lot of time talking to our clients, and through this process, I spent a lot of time talking to Celsius and to a lot of you about the right way to build this. And so I'm really excited today to go through a demo on what you're going to actually experience once we get into the refinancing process in your Ledn account. And as you can see, that will come towards the end of this meeting. And John, I will pass it over to you.
Thanks very much, Alex. Hello, everybody. Thanks for attending this seminar. My name is John Glover. I'm the CIO here at Ledn. For those who haven't met me before, I'm responsible for all of the institutional relationships, responsible for all of the institutional lending and the funding of our loan book as well. So I'm the guy to ask if you have any questions around the risk associated with that, or how we generate yield here at Ledn, or what we're doing with your collateral, depending on the type of loan that you choose. So great to meet everybody, and really excited about going through this webinar with you. So just waiting for Mao to come back on. There's a question from one of the clients asking, wanting to get a better understanding about the collateral that will be moving from Celsius to Ledn. This is a calculation that's going to be determined largely or in part by the price of Bitcoin at the time. So we're going to be getting 100% of the loan principal amount in collateral, in US dollar equivalent, in Bitcoin or ETH, depending on which one you choose to refinance with. And then the balance of that collateral, the excess collateral we require to get up to the LTV, will be determined on what you have in the account after that principal amount. But we'll be going through that in this demo. And so with Mao back on, I'll hand it back over to him, and we can delve into those questions a little bit deeper.
Hey, everybody. Sorry, that's some technical issues, but I'm back now. So yes, as I was mentioning in my intro, we have everything continues to track in the right direction. We're getting closer and closer to the refinancing date, and we're getting a lot of submissions, new submissions, and new questions as we get closer to the date. So wanted to host a session to help everybody get aligned on next steps and making sure that all the things you needed to do are covered. So in today's session, we're going to go over a quick update progress update on where we are in the process, all the things that you should have completed up until now, and all the things you need to do next to make sure that everything's lined up. We're going to do next steps. That'll be the next section in the session. At the end, we're going to do a checklist one more time just to make sure that you followed all of the things that we have covered. Then Alex is going to take us or walk us through a demo on what the refinancing process will be at Ledn. And then we're going to open it up for questions from the group. And I see the questions are already starting to roll in, so that's excellent. So on this chart here, this is basically a bit of a progress map. And by now, the areas in green is what everybody should have completed. The areas in gray that are encapsulated by that little orange box is the next steps and what we're going to be addressing here today, and making sure everybody has completed the stuff that's in green and has all the right instructions to follow on the steps that are in gray. So just to do a quick recap on where we are today, by now, if you're on this call, you should have submitted an intake form to register your Celsius loan with Ledn. You should have also opened a Ledn account, which helps you expedite the process if you didn't already have one. I know a lot of people here on this call are existing Ledn clients. They already had a relationship with Ledn. So for them, all you need to make sure is that the form for your Celsius loans has been input and that the KYC on your Ledn account is correctly passed or completed. And that's basically step number 3. So ensuring that your KYC is up to date. And then the next steps, which are the boxes in green, and we'll be going over this in a lot of detail today and answering questions, is you have to vote for the option to refinance on the ballot that most of you have already received. The second one, our understanding is you're going to get a second email to basically consent to having your loan details shared with us. And the last one will be what the demo is going to be about, which is what does it look like to come onto Ledn and complete this process once all the information has been exchanged, so that we can go out and basically settle your debt and get your assets and open the new loan. So this next slide here is the intake form, and this is what you should all be familiar with. This link, we're going to have it on the comments section, but this is effectively where you register your Celsius loan to refinance with Ledn. And this is the most important step of this, because this one is what will allow Celsius to share your information with us and you to come in and apply at Ledn. So very important that you have completed this. If you have not already, please do so. And if you have any questions on this, please contact our team and we would be happy to point you into the right direction on how to complete this. I forgot to say this at the beginning, but this session will be recorded and available online. I don't know if this was said as I was rebooting, but just in case nobody could join or someone couldn't join the live session, we'll be sharing this in the group chat and other places as well. Okay, so next steps. The next steps for now is the vote on the ballot. And this is a process that you may have already done and some of you may not have done yet. And please keep in mind that these are intended as guidance only. Please do consult with your legal counsel before casting your vote. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to the Celsius team directly is what I would suggest. There's also David Adler and other resources, but this is sort of the guidance that we will share based on public information that's available. So our understanding is you should have received 2 emails for this ballot, one with a PDF document that basically has the details for the vote itself, and then a second email with an electronic link for you to cast your vote electronically. So in order to refinance with Ledn, it is very important that you cast your vote for the refinancing election, which is the option highlighted in the green box to the right of the slide. And this is the option that allows you to refinance your loan with a third-party lender. So this vote you need to have cast before January 17th at 11:59 p.m. So that is next Wednesday. If I'm so next Wednesday before midnight and next Wednesday, you must have cast this vote for the refinancing election in order for Ledn to be able to refinance your loan. So we can go to the next slide. And once you have basically highlighted or signaled to the Celsius team that you want your loan refinanced with a third-party lender, they need to obtain your consent to share your loan details to us so that we can populate and create your lending agreement. So once you've cast your vote for the refinancing election, we understand that you will be getting an additional email from the Celsius team. And this email will ask you to basically give them your consent to share your loan details and information with Ledn. And that's what's going to allow us to create the loan documents that populates your agreement, that you can basically log in and very simply and very easily complete and execute that agreement that allows us to then go and refinance your loan. In terms of the dates that we have heard or that what's been communicated, we understand that the refinancing process is expected to begin after the tentative effective date of January 21st. Or sorry, 31st, January 31st, the end of the month. And so that is the time after which the refinancing of your loans would start. And just to make this very clear, and if anybody wants this checklist, you can reach out to me. I'm happy to share it. It's very simple, but it just keeps track of what you should have done and complete in order to do this process. So you should have submitted your refinancing intake form. You should have an open Ledn account if you don't already, and that account should have completed KYC. The next would be for you to issue your vote or cast your vote for the refinancing election before January 17th at midnight. The next one will be to have your consent shared to Celsius so they can give us your details and we can create the loan document that we need for you to sign. And the last one is for you to come onto the platform and execute the final lending agreement or loan agreement. And this is the process that Alex is going to walk us through right now, something that we put a lot of work and love into and we're very proud of.
Great. Thank you, Mao. All right, everyone. So as Mao mentioned, what we're going to do now is we're really going to double click into what's the actual experience when you have actually the ability to apply for your loan. So we'll jump forward to the next slide. And really, this is a double click into what happens once the exchange that Mao has mentioned with Celsius of those loan details has happened. Because at that point, we will have the loan details and can prepare your application. So we'll go through the details in a moment, but first and briefly, here's an overview of the process. And there's sort of, think about this in two steps. The first part is submitting the application to refinance with Ledn for any loan that you would like to refinance with Ledn. So when we have those loan details from Celsius, we will send you an email notifying you that you are ready to log into your Ledn platform. And at that point, you can apply for the loans that we've received that data from Celsius. And then the second stage of the process really is going to be once you apply to those loans, that's where we'll go work with Celsius to complete the refinancing, including securing the collateral from Celsius for those loans as quickly as possible to then ultimately have your loan be live. And at that point, once we've secured the collateral and the loan is approved and live, we'll notify you. And so with that, let's look at each stage individually. So the first thing that you will see once you've received that email notifying you that you can begin the loan application process is to go into your Ledn profile under the Loans tab, navigate to the Dollar Loans section, and there you'll see a banner at the top of your screen prompting you to apply for refinancing. So you'll click on that and you'll be taken to the screen you see on your right where you can enter one of your Celsius loan IDs. If you aren't sure of your loan ID, you can find this in your Celsius profile. And if you still can't find it, you can always reach out to us or Celsius for some help. So once you enter that and click continue, on the next page, you'll see that you'll be able to see all of your eligible loans. And so what you can see here is that just by entering one of your Celsius loan IDs, we're going to surface for you all of the loans that we've received data for and are eligible. So you don't need to worry about remembering every single one of your loan IDs. And you'll notice a few things here. You'll be able to see both your eligible ETH and Bitcoin loans. You'll be able to see the details for those loans at a high level. And importantly, you'll also be able to see loans that might be above 80% LTV. So 80% LTV at the current prices on the day you're applying is Ledn's threshold for where we can and cannot allow loans to apply. So if they're below 80% LTV, all good. If they're above 80% LTV, we'll still show you we've received those loan details. And if you'd like to get in touch with us to send some more collateral to then bring that LTV down below 80% and allow yourself to apply, please do so. If you don't see when you get into the experience your loan, there's a few reasons that might happen. First is that if the loan is below $500 of outstanding balance of principal, we aren't able to service those loans. But second really is that if we haven't received those loan details from Celsius, you won't be able to see it here. If that happens again, please get in touch with us and we'll help you. So you'll click one of the loans to actually go through the process for each loan individually. And so you'll have a few things to review and really just one choice to make. We tried to keep this as simple as possible. So we'll be able to surface the loan application we've prepared based on the information we've received from Celsius. And then really it's just about picking the collateral management plan you'd like, whether that's a standard loan or a custody loan. And there's lots of information both on our website and in the application itself around the difference between those loans. But really it comes down to the treatment of collateral and the resulting interest rate. So you'll make your choice and you can have a different choice for each loan that you want to apply for. So some of them can be standard, some of them can be custodied. They can all be standard or they can all be custodied. And the other thing you'll see here is the rate itself. And so there's really two things that might change the rate that you see here besides your choice of standard or custodied. So the first thing is if you've qualified for a discount with Ledn on your loan, that will be applied proactively here, and you'll see an interest rate that's 50 basis points lower. So instead of 11.9%, you'd see an 11.4% APR. And the other way your interest rate that you end up having your loan with might change is that if the loan ends up being over 70% LTV at the time that we actually refinance the loan with Celsius and push this live. So not at the moment of application, which you see here, but once we ultimately push the loan live because we've worked with Celsius to refinance it, if it's over 70%, the APR will be 100 basis points higher. So as an example, in this case, you can see the current LTV when you're applying is 64%. If you apply and then a few days goes by and then we ultimately do the deal with Celsius and refinance your loan for you, if at that point the LTV is 75%, your APR is going to be 1% higher. So you'll make your choices here and you'll flip to the next page in the process, which is just really reviewing those details again, the legal contract that goes with it, and submitting your application. And that's really all it takes to submit. Again, you'll look at your loan details and decide which loan you want to refinance. You'll choose standard or custodied from a collateral management perspective. You'll review the contract and you'll submit. Once you've done that, you'll be taken back to any other eligible loans that you haven't applied for. So you can always keep track of which loans you have and haven't applied for. So you can see here in this example, we've now applied for one of our loans. So that one is now grayed out. And you can see you've actually submitted that application and you still have your others that you can go ahead and apply for. And that really wraps up that first stage of applying. The last slide we have is what happens once you have applied. And so at this point, we will obviously review your loan application, make sure all looks good. Once we've reviewed it and are ready to move ahead, you'll receive an email from Ledn, usually within 24 to 48 hours, telling you that we've received that application and we're going to move forward. At that point, we then move forward with Celsius to process the loan as quickly as possible, really to obtain the collateral so we can push the loan live. This will basically go based on the volume of applications that we receive and Celsius and how exactly they're going to run that process. But our intent, of course, will be to do it as quickly as possible. Once we've done the exchange of collateral with Celsius and we have that in-house, we'll be able to push the loan live. At that point, we'll send you an email telling you the loan is live. And of course, throughout the process, you'll be able to see the status of that loan in your Ledn profile the whole way along. The only real edge case to keep in mind here is what happens if your loan ends up being above 80% LTV at the time that we're ready to actually fund the loan. So as a reminder, back to one of those first pages, will allow you to apply for a loan as long as the LTV is below 80%. If the LTV changes and goes above 80% between the time you apply and the time we're able to actually fund the loan, we will reach out to you and handle those on a one-to-one basis, but you'll be able to send additional collateral in order to proceed with the refinancing at that point. And that's really it. So just quickly to recap, after you've provided that consent to Celsius to share your loan details, really you'll just be applying for the loans, making your choices, and then we'll go ahead and work with Celsius to get those done as quickly as possible. And that's it. Thank you everyone for taking some time to listen to our demo.
Thank you so much for that demo, Alex. I was very excited to unveil this because it's it's a very simple way to hopefully ending a very long and complex process and an experience. So all you'll have to do really is put in your Celsius IDs. We'll do all the calculations and details will be populated, and all you'll have to do is just agree to the final terms and authorize us to carry out the refinancing transaction. We've been getting quite a few questions throughout the session, and now we are here at the point where we can start going through them. So here we go. Timeless Travel Tours. Hi, do you know if Celsius will include liquidated loans after they stop their operations? Example, they stopped the operation on May 22nd and my loan got liquidated after July 22nd. The answer to this is it's unclear right now if they're going to do this. My understanding is that these loans will not be included. These loans will be treated as loans that were closed prior to the petition date. But this is a question that has come up from more than one borrower. We'll bring this up again to try to get more clarification. But as it stands, my understanding is that these will not be included. They will be treated as closed loans. But again, if there's any additional insights there that we can share, I'll be happy to circulate them. Is there a tax event trigger from a transfer of Celsius, Bitcoin, ETH to Ledn? So a caveat with tax laws and regulations vary from state to state and jurisdiction to jurisdiction, and this should not be constituted as tax advice. In most cases, when you are taking a loan to settle a debt, you're not selling assets. And in most cases, again, it would not be treated as a taxable event, but this is something you should check with your tax professional. I would like to pay off principal amount of $1,000 to have 3.2 ETH released. Would this be a good idea rather than set off? So the decision on whether to set off or refinance or repay the loan is ultimately a personal decision. It's a decision you have to make on your own based on what is best for you. In terms of resources to make this decision, there is a recovery calculator that is in the loans group that helps you input your loan details, and it spits out what the refinanced loan could look like. And that way you can compare how much assets or collateral you would recover under a refinancing scenario versus a set-off. And the other thing to consider is that when you're setting off, you are going to be deemed to be, again, not tax advice, consult with your tax professional, but if you do the set-off treatment, you would be considered as selling additional assets to settle the debt, which could trigger a taxable event. So there can be more than one reason to refinance, and that could be for tax reasons or for positioning, etc., for investment decisions. Understanding if paying off or refinancing allows one to get more crypto back, still unclear. Mathematically speaking, there's more than one way to repay the loan. You can repay the loan yourself with fresh cash, or you could have a third-party lender repay the loan on your behalf. In both instances, you're going to be getting the same amount of collateral. It's just that in one case, you will be paying with fresh cash and you won't have a loan. You will be receiving all of the collateral. On the second scenario, which is when Ledn would be refinancing, Ledn is sending the dollars to settle the debt, and Ledn gets the assets that become then collateral for the new Ledn loan. So in both scenarios, you would mathematically get the same amount of collateral assets back as if the loan gets repaid. Is the debt get repaid? Who repays the debt is indifferent to Celsius. They just want to have the debt repaid and the assets returned. Alex, you want to take this one?
Yeah, so I think it depends a little bit on Celsius, but from Ledn's perspective, we can only service Bitcoin and ETH loans. They're the only two currencies outside of stables that we support with our loan product and on our platform in general. So I believe on the Celsius side, there might be some work happening to potentially have, coins that aren't Bitcoin and ETH end up as Bitcoin and ETH. That would be a question for them. And now you might know a little bit, but the end result we need is that your loan coming over or your collateral coming over has to be Bitcoin or ETH because those are the products that we support at Ledn.
Yes, and I know there's a few of you that are in this boat that have submitted some loans that are neither Bitcoin or ETH as collateral. For those of you who have, please send us a note at support@ledn.io just to flag that your input or your loan is a non-Bitcoin or non-ETH loan. We'll make sure to tag it correctly so that you can make a decision, and Celsius will then transfer over your choice of asset, whether Bitcoin or ETH. Is there a formula to calculate what the collateral with Ledn will end up being so we know what our LTV is? So because there is no formal recovery estimate published from Celsius, and there is no formal price setting mechanism yet for the value of the Bitcoin or the ETH at the time of the refinancing, the formula that exists today, which is the loan calculator in the borrower group, is built using estimates. Estimates on the recovery that have been published by Celsius, and when you're using that calculator, it asks you to put in the current Bitcoin price. So basically, it calculates what the loan would look like as a function of the recovery estimates that have been shared and the current Bitcoin price. Both of those variables could move between now and the refinancing date. So the actual LTV of your loan, the LTV itself shouldn't move too much. The amount of Bitcoin that you get that basically works out to that math and that LTV is what could fluctuate. So right now, that calculation, Chris, is a moving target. So you have to kind of consider the fact that it could change. The recovery estimates could change. The price of Bitcoin could change. That could ultimately impact the LTV. So it's not a perfect answer, but it's what we have. You have to work with the fact that some of these variables might move a little bit. If any loans are not refied with Ledn, will they stay with Celsius for the set-off? This is I have to confirm what the if you choose not to refinance a loan with Ledn from the ones that are lighting up on your screen, we will not refinance those loans, but I have to confirm what Celsius would do on their end, whether they consider those to be deemed as non-refinance loans and set off. But at Ledn, we will only be able to refinance the loans that you authorize us to refinance. So it's something that we need to confirm. If you have all of your loans here, if you have 5, but you only pick 3, what happens to the other 2? Unless you have an answer, Alex, I think we have to go and get the answer.
Yeah, we have an open question with Celsius on this exact case right now.
Great. Jose, unfortunately not. We cannot refinance California residents at this time. If they don't answer questions about how much collateral will be transferred from Celsius or how much of the original collateral we would get back from them. That's a question. Hold on. This was a question. After the refi, will the crypto using the USD at the old price? So I believe your question, Rafa, is about how is the price going to be determined for the value of the Bitcoin collateral for a particular loan. The answer to that is that mechanism has still not been finalized with the Celsius team. So we still don't know what is going to be the time or day or effective price at which these assets are going to be priced for the purposes of the loan. So it's an open question. We know it's a very important one, and we're trying to get more details on that. We'll share them back as soon as we have them.
Yeah, and I think it's important to just note in here that these calculations are Celsius calculations. So it's not that we're not determining how much collateral is coming from Celsius. We're not determining what the collateralization or LTV of your loan is. That's all coming to us from Celsius. So some of these questions, and I think Jack Wickersty, you asked this question. Some of these questions we're unable to answer because we're not the ones determining that calculation. That's from Celsius, and so we just end up adopting the loan at the LTV that is determined by Celsius.
When will we receive the email from a debtor to choose a lender? So, hi, D. My understanding is that the ballot that you received right now, you can authorize Celsius or you can select to refinance with a third-party lender. So on the ballot that you have right now, you're not selecting to refinance specifically with Ledn. You're selecting to refinance your loans, broadly speaking, with a third-party lender. My understanding is that the next email that you're going to get is going to ask for your consent to share that information. Presumably, they should be asking you where to send your information. So it would probably be in this next ballot, but that is, it's my guess. My understanding is that you're going to ask asked for consent. It's unclear whether that consent is going to be addressed to a particular firm or to all 3 authorized firms. So it's an open question, but presumably you should elect to refinance with a third-party lender on this one, and in the next one you should have more clarity as to who that information is going to be shared with. Let's see. Is it too late to start the process to get into intake and get KYC done in time? It is not too late. You can still do it. You can register on the intake form that we just went over at the beginning, and you can open your Ledn account and complete the KYC process. As long as you do that, before January 17th, I think there should still be time to do so. Alex, I don't know if you have any other dates that we should remind people of, but there's still time. You should do it right away, and the sooner the better.
Yeah, I would say exactly what you said, Mao. It's not too late, but please do it as soon as possible, because that will let us go secure your loan details from Celsius as quickly as possible. If they come in and trickle in after we've started this process, we'll still work to manage them, but there just might be a delay because they weren't included in the first batch of data that we worked with Celsius on.
Great. There is one here. Will an account with multiple loans be consolidated? Oh, this is what's for you, Alex.
No, it won't. So we're going to let you apply for the same number of loans with the same values as you have coming over from Celsius. So in general, we believe in choice and being able to manage things as you need to. So that lets you pick, whether again you want different choices for different loans, whether you want to refinance some loans with Ledn and some loans with others. So we will leave them as they are. Once you come to Ledn, you can always consolidate your loans into a loan by closing them and reopening one bigger one if that's easier for you to manage. We can obviously talk about that on a one-to-one basis with anyone who's interested in that option to explain exactly how that works and the trade-offs with doing so. But when you come over from Celsius, we will not be consolidating individual loans into bigger loans.
At what levels are loans automatically liquidated, and what level do customers receive a warning? This is a great question, JK. And so at Ledn, for Celsius clients, the Ledn has a very simple rule, which is don't let the LTV get to 80%. This is when the loan gets liquidated and closed. For the purposes of Celsius clients, the LTV or the liquidation threshold is being moved to 90%. So at Ledn, the real simple rule is don't let your LTV get to 90%. At that point, our system will automatically have to close the loan by selling the necessary amount of Bitcoin, and any remaining Bitcoin will be sent to your transaction account. Now, the warnings are going to be emailed to you when your LTV reaches 80% and again at 85%. And you're going to keep getting those warnings as long as your LTV is above 80 or 85. If and when it ever reaches 90, it gets closed automatically. So those are the warning and closing thresholds.
And it's probably also worth mentioning one of our features to help with that at this point, which is auto top up. So we have a feature where you can enable essentially automated transactions from your Ledn transaction account, where you can hold Bitcoin collateral or ETH collateral. So if that account is funded and you have turned this feature on for Celsius loans that are coming over, as soon as they hit 75%, we will look to that account, and if there's collateral there, we will create a transaction to send that collateral to the loan, bringing the LTV down, and there's a final check at 89% again. So there's also a feature that if you're interested in using, everyone's able to use, essentially that helps manage the risk of liquidation if there's a flash crash or something like that as well.
That's a great build, Alex. It's one of my favorite features. There's a question. Could you explain? Do you want to take this one, John?
Sure. Yeah. So the question is, could Ledn explain why you're in great financial position so our counterparty risk with you is not too great? I'd say there's two things to consider in this. Number one, let's look back to what happened last year when the market tanked and the whole FTX and Three Arrows, et cetera, happened, that caused many of our competitors to go bankrupt. Our risk management here and our credit underwriting here is at very high traditional finance standards. So we didn't take any risk with our clients' assets in terms of swapping those into other assets where we could earn higher yield. We didn't pay on assets that had no institutional lending market. So we were, some of our competitors were paying on things that really didn't exist. And our credit underwriting is such that we are very, very rigorous in making sure that we have complete visibility into our institutional counterparties' financial position. B, we have connectivity with the senior leadership at that counterparty. We talk to our institutional counterparties weekly, if not daily. Whenever there's concerns in the marketplace, we're in contact with them right away to see how they're affected. And we only lend to those that are non-directional market makers, so they're not taking speculative views on the marketplace in any way. And B, are of sufficient size that we believe that any losses can be absorbed by their balance sheets, and so they're not going to fail on the loans. And as a result, we didn't find ourselves in financial strife, whereas our competitors did, and a lot of them went under. The other thing to consider in this question also is we have two different types of loans that you can sign up for. We have our standard loan, and in our standard loan, it comes at a lower interest rate, and the collateral that you post with us, we have the ability to re-lend that collateral. And the re-lending of that collateral into institutions, these strong institutional counterparties that I'm talking about, it's that income from that allows us to offer a lower lending rate to you. If you choose to have a less risky use of your collateral, because you're absolutely right, there is risk in lending collateral institutionally. Even though we do very rigorous credit underwriting, there is a non-zero possibility that one of our institutional counterparties may fail on their loans because they may find themselves in financial trouble. If you choose to have something that's less risky, you can choose what we're calling our custodied loan. And in that case, your collateral will sit in cold storage at a custodian or at a bank and will not be relent in the marketplace. And therefore, you don't have risk of loss of that collateral. So we're giving choice to our clients, which Alex mentioned is something that's at the absolute core of the Ledn kind of ethos. And also our credit underwriting and our financial position puts us in a much stronger position than those who in the past have had to halt withdrawals or halt lending because of things that were happening in the past. And we also know that some of the people who did survive that, they did suffer losses, but instead of going into bankruptcy, they forced all of their clients to take equity. So convert their losses effectively into equity in the company. So there were still losses effectively. We didn't do either of those things because we're in very strong position, and we made sure that our risk management and our credit underwriting was very, very strong. So that's the answer to your question. I hope that helps.
I can take this one from Jeffrey. What happens if we can't afford to add more collateral? So I assume the question here is if my loan is over 80% and I don't have the collateral to bring it back down, what happens? So there's two ways to think about this. The first is that if it's above 80% at the time of application, again, you won't be able to apply. So that sort of precludes that there. The question probably more is what happens if I apply and it's at 70, and then when we get to the point of refinancing, I'm at 81 or 82, what happens there? We will do a final check before we refinance the loans to make sure they still are eligible. If they are above 80% at that point, we will reach out to you and confirm if you would like to send more collateral. We will secure that collateral, and then once that collateral is in-house with Ledn, we will proceed with the refinancing. If you obviously at that point say, no, we're not going to proceed, we won't proceed with the refinancing with Ledn. And so there won't be a loan created and funded at that point.
If there are 3 loans, 2 in ETH and 1 in Link token, what would happen with the 1 in Link? Will it be converted to ETH or BTC from your side? So I can start answering this question, and maybe Alex, if you have any additional info, you can chime in. But my understanding is that the borrower, you, will be the one to have to select what to convert that link into. So we will only be able to support Ethereum or Bitcoin as collateral for our loans, and the decision of which asset will come from the borrower themselves. The mechanics through which that purchase or how that exchange gets done or how that price or that trade price gets set is still unclear. So you, the borrower, should be the one who decides what type of asset you get back or what that gets converted to. The price and the mechanism where that conversion happens is still unclear. But so long as we can get either ETH or Bitcoin from the Celsius team, you should be able to open that loan here at Ledn. If we have an existing loan with a low LTV of 30%, can we merge it with a high LTV loan that has come from Celsius to lower my overall LTV? Yes, Chris, the answer to that is we can refinance or combine 2 or more than 2 loans into one bigger loan and blend the LTVs so that you have a safer LTV across the board.
And there's a few ways to manage this as well, just to maybe give people a sense of how, once you have a loan with Ledn, what's available to you to manage it across the board. But we also offer a feature where when LTV is below 30%, you can take some of the excess collateral out of that loan back to your transaction account. So in this case, say your LTV on your current loan is at 25%, you can take enough collateral out of that loan to bring it back to 40% LTV, and then you could use that collateral to send to your Celsius refinancing loan to lower it all. So there's a few different ways we can help with that. And obviously, Chris, we're more than happy to work with you one-to-one on figuring out kind of what the right thing is for you in that situation.
Ravi, how do you benefit from doing all of this? It's a simple answer. We're in the lending business. So more loans for us means we make more money. So at Ledn, our business is people lend us money at a certain rate and we lend that money at another rate. So when you deposit into Ledn, you get starting rate is 8.5% for dollars, up to 10% over 100K balances. And when we lend those assets at 11.9. So the difference between 8.5 and 11.9 is how we benefit from doing all of this. It's great for us to be able to help and doing something that we know is helping people, and it also helps us, do what we love to do, which is lend against Bitcoin. So, it is a mutually beneficial endeavor. It helps you, it helps us.
I would also add to that it's bringing us new clients as well. And, that's obviously one of the reasons that we want to do this. We want to grow our client base, and a lot of the Celsius clients are not current Ledn clients, so it brings new clients to us as well.
Absolutely. Are we charged the full year's interest upfront on the loan, or if we pay down the loan after 3 months, do we only pay the annual interest rate times 3 months when we settle the loan? Chris, great question. At Ledn, you only pay interest for the days that your loan is open. So your interest accrues daily on your loan. So if you keep your loan for 27 days and you repay it after 27 days, you pay 27 days worth of interest. There is no penalty for early repayment. And so I guess the answer to your question is you only pay for the interest for the days that your loan is open. As far as I'm aware, everyone will be losing a percentage of the collateral via the bankruptcy. I wish I had a better answer, Kelly, but yes, the answer is as part of the bankruptcy, most creditors are getting a haircut on all of their assets, whether that was an earned claim, a custody claim, or a collateral claim. Most people are getting a haircut. It's just unfortunately the reality of a bankruptcy. But what is happening here is basically there's an ongoing effort for borrowers and lenders to try to recoup as much collateral from the bankruptcy process as possible, so that you can refinance your loan rather than having to close it, because that could create other issues for you in terms of tax and otherwise. But yes, everybody will be having a percentage loss of all of their claims within Celsius. Let's see. I think we've gone through most questions. And if that's the case, then we can continue taking questions on the group chat. I'm always on the group chat, on the Celsius borrower chat. You can also reach us out on social media at Hodl with Ledn or at support@ledn.io. If you have any additional questions, you can always reach out to me directly on Telegram. Again, I'm on the chat. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Jeffrey, can you please reshare the link for the onboarding form? We're going to try to put it here. We'll see if our team can add it. Here we go. If you just Google search Ledn Celsius, it'll be one of your first hits, but here it is. Ledn.io/learn/ Ledn.io/learn/Celsius-refinancing.
There was also a question, Mao, could you explain the difference between set off and refi? Do you want to, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So set off is basically there's three options. You repay the loan yourself, you repay the loan through a third party lender, or it gets set off. Okay. By set off, what they mean is that in your current loan claim, most people owe Celsius $1 and Celsius has two of their dollars, right? So Celsius has $2 of your collateral, they've lent you one. So you owe them one and they owe you two. Okay. What we're doing when we are refinancing or repaying is that you are repaying them that $1 that they lent to you. So you send them the $1, and whatever assets they recoup from that debt, they will give you back those assets, right? So you give them one and they give you two minus the haircut. Okay. That is the repayment or refinancing. And as you can see, because there is nothing is getting sold, you're repaying the debt. The repayment of the debt releases collateral that after the haircut gets sent to either yourself if you paid them yourself, or to Ledn if Ledn refinance on your behalf. Okay. That is the repayment or the refinancing treatment. The set-off treatment is you saying, I don't want to repay you that $1 loan. I want you to discount what I owe you from the $2 that you owe me. So they will be basically netting off the haircut and then your debt, and whatever's left, then you get back. So that is the set-off treatment. In effect, what you are doing is you're selling collateral from the loan to settle the debt and getting the excess. So it's again, the main difference is in one case, you're selling collateral to settle the debt. And the other case, that asset to settle the debt is coming from either a lender or yourself. So nothing's getting sold. So the two scenarios have different recoveries and they have different potential tax implications. What are, so we just shared the calculator. What are the benefits of refinancing if I can just set off? So again, Andrew, this isn't financial advice or tax advice, but the main drivers for the refinancing versus set off decision many times are driven by tax planning. So again, if you set off, you will be deemed to have been sold assets to settle your debt. The price at which you purchase that asset and the price at which you're selling that asset could trigger a taxable event. So that could be a tax bill or a tax credit. In most cases, specifically for the bigger loans and people that have purchased assets early on, it would be a tax bill. So what people are trying to really prevent here is having to take the haircut loss from Celsius having gone bankrupt, and then in addition getting an additional tax bill for having sold additional assets to settle their debt. So that in itself is a big driver for why many are choosing to refinance over setting off. Shall we get our collateral in crypto or in fiat at the end of the agreement? Once your loan is repaid, if that's your question, Nicola, once you repay your loan, your collateral is always in crypto. So if you have Ethereum backing your loan, it remains Ethereum throughout the loan. If you have Bitcoin backing your loan, it remains Bitcoin while it backs your loan. Once you repay that debt, we give you back either Ethereum or Bitcoin, whatever asset had your asset as collateral. The collateral for your loans is in that asset. It does not get dollarized.
You do have the choice, though, if you want at the end of the loan to use your collateral to repay that loan. But that's your choice. Your collateral is always held in kind, the way Maurizio just explained it.
Yeah. This is a good question that I just saw come through from Chris. Are Ledn accounts for personal names, or are they also for a company if the Celsius loan was for a company structure? So very important. Yes, Ledn accepts corporate accounts. And yes, you can open a corporate account and roll your corporate debt or loan to a corporate Ledn account. Absolutely. Thank you all. Thank you, Andrew. Intake form seems like it might not be working. After submission, nothing happens and the form pop-up disappears. Jeffrey, the form seems to be working
I can see it, Jeffrey. We received
Okay.
Your... Yeah.
Okay, we're good, Jeffrey. Okay. For U.S. residents, yes. This is the so yeah, I think this is showing the list of states where we cannot refinance in the US. So again, if anybody has questions of whether their particular state is eligible or not, please go through this list. The states that are not on this list are getting reviewed on a case-by-case basis. The states on this list, unfortunately, we cannot service. So I know we've had a bunch of inbounds from California and Connecticut, and unfortunately, we cannot help those clients for this process. But you can see the list of states and inoperable jurisdictions in terms of international countries. You'll find the sort of usual suspects like North Korea and Yemen and fully sanctioned countries. But do take a look at the U.S. state list if you believe your state might be restricted. And there's a list of countries as well, even though there's very few lists in the restricted countries. But it's always worth checking. Okay. I think we have covered most of the questions that we have received. Thank you so much. This has been a really great session. Again, this will be recorded and available on our YouTube channels. If you have any questions that we didn't get to, or you're looking at you're watching the recording, please email us at support@ledn.io. We would be happy to answer your questions. We're also on the Celsius Loans borrower group. Feel free to tag us, myself in the chat. I'm in there. And yeah, we look forward to getting this over the line and giving you a new home here at Ledn.
We started the company to solve our own problem. And I think that's something that cannot be stressed enough, because a lot of innovation in this space is just solutions looking for a problem.
The origination and the development of Ledn came out through conversations that I had with Mauricio about the different experiences we had growing up with money.
I'm from Venezuela, and the way I got into Bitcoin was not because I found it, but my family found it first. So in my lifetime, there's been 14 zeros wiped out of my currency. That's the number of zeros in a trillion. All of my friends were leaving the country and with really depressed faces, except for my brother. I went to ask him what he was doing with a lot of skepticism. He says, I'm mining Bitcoin. I asked him to show me. He made me give him my address to get some money into my bank account. Money hits my bank account. In the context of not being able to buy dollars, non-perishables, nothing. And at that point, when I saw how Bitcoin could transact in that hostile of an environment, that's when all the light bulbs went off.
When Mauricio and I first decided to set up a Bitcoin mine in Canada, at that time, the only choice we had was to sell Bitcoin and convert it to dollars to be able to pay these mining expenses. Banks didn't even have comfort in servicing basic bank account services for Bitcoin, let alone offering a loan. So a situation where there was not enough capital that wanted to invest in Bitcoin mining, and lots of people that wanted to hold Bitcoin. And so the idea of financing a Bitcoin mining operation was pretty interesting. We iterated a lot through many conversations and launched Canada's first Bitcoin-backed loan in 2018. And then through that realized that we had something that, again, Bitcoin is a global asset. So why were we limiting it to Canada? There were people in other regions of the world who it was equally or arguably far more useful for. And then we didn't need to limit it to mining.
Because of our experiences, our collective experiences, the conviction in what we do is unshakable. Because there's so much of an immigrant base within Ledn, we all had to escape the consequences of broken money. I think that if you combine all of these things together, you get to this unshakable force, which is, I think, the fire that essentially burns why we want to do this so badly. Where I think Ledn plays a very key role is by connecting your digital assets into your real world experience and making that digital asset enhance your day-to-day life. Wanting to buy a house, wanting to buy a car, wanting to pay for groceries. The more we can bridge your digital wealth and convert that into a real life experience or an enhancement to your day-to-day, that's where I think we're going to want to play.
What it means to me is helping as many people as we can and equalizing financial services across the world.
Inflation is taking a big bite out of Americans' everyday budgets. And
Europe's inflation has touched record high levels in July, and this has given rise to
the inflation rate in this country with another record high.
The temperature may have cooled here in the UK. Inflation, though, only getting hotter.
You've seen and heard the headlines.
record high inflation rates are threatening our economic stability and the livelihoods of people everywhere. Personally, I'm no stranger to the dire consequences of soaring inflation. I was born into double-digit inflation in Venezuela and saw the inflation rate soar into the millions in 2018. Our currency has been renamed 3 times and 14 zeros have been removed from it in my lifetime. The monthly minimum wage dropped to under $1 a day. But it was during these desperate circumstances, one day in my hometown of Barquisimeto, that my brother introduced me to something that would change my life forever. This is Mauricio Di Bartolomeo, the co-founder and CSO of Ledn, and I'm the host of Because of Bitcoin, a new podcast that shares personal stories of how Bitcoin is changing lives for the better. In my case, Bitcoin helped me overcome the drastic challenges facing Venezuelans, and I was able to help my friends and family do the same. Because of Bitcoin, we'll feature guests that have had a unique journey of their own, bringing practical real-world examples of how Bitcoin has made a positive impact in their lives. And I believe you'll be inspired by each and every one of them. I invite you to join me as we listen to the moving stories of entrepreneurs, human rights advocates, and Bitcoin groundbreakers. Because of Bitcoin is coming this September to wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to listen in, and until then, los quiero mucho.